My name is Sue Godzinski, and I'll be the director for this evening. Our first show is Fibber, McGee, and Molly, Fall House Cleaning. There are people who would argue that Fibber, McGee, and Molly were the golden age of radio. This is partly because of the show's very long and successful run from 1935 to 1959. But more than just staying power, the show showcased terrific comic and musical talent. Throughout its run, the show was a reflection of its time in the American scene. The genesis of the show can be traced to a local Chicago show that would become Smack Out. Anybody hear of Smack Out? Smack Out was about a country store, and the running gag throughout the show was that the store was always, quote, smack out of, unquote, whatever his customers wanted. All the voices and characters were played by Jim and Mary and Jordan, Fibber, McGee, and Molly, because they didn't have the budget for expensive talent or an orchestra. Soon to become Fibber, McGee, and Molly, they lived in the fictional Midwestern city of, anybody remember? Wistful Vista. The success of the program was due to the set of regular players and characters that were as beloved as the stars of the program. The show began as a comic reflection of Depression-era America. Part of its charm was its loyalty to middle-class American sensibilities. If it couldn't happen in Peoria, which is where Jim and Mary and Jordan were originally from, there was no room for it on their show. And now, Fibber, McGee, and Molly, Fall House Cleaning, original broadcast October 21st, 1941.
The Johnson's Wax Program with Fibber, McGee, and Molly. The makers of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Fibber, McGee, and Molly, written by Don Quinn with songs by Martha Tilton and the Kingsmen and music by Billy Mills. The saddest phrase to a man or mouse is, "Come on, sweetheart, let's clean the house." And here at number 79, where life till now was smooth and fine, comes labor tough and acrobatic, like hauling junk down from the attic. Wives wallow in it, men think it folly, like these two, Fibber, McGee, and Molly.
Let's sit down and rest, Molly. Are you sweating as much as I am?
McGee.
Huh?
Horses sweat, men perspire, and ladies glow.
Okay, so I'm a horse. I'm a fat horse. I'm an overworked, sway-backed, mistreated beast of burden. Would you please lead me out into the kitchen and fill my trough full of root beer?
You can have a root beer later. I want to get all this stuff sorted and thrown away. Now, for instance, look at those books on the shelf there.
Yeah?
We've got to weed those out too.
Which ones should we toss out?
Well, let's throw out the two ones on the end and keep the one in the middle.
What is the one in the middle?
Franklin's autobiography.
Oh, I want to read that one. That Franklin was a great old... come in.
Hello there, kids. What you doing?
Hello there, Mr. Oldtimer. We're doing a bit of house cleaning. Do you want to help?
How much?
2 bits an hour, and you feed your own Charlie horses.
That's pretty good, Johnny. But it ain't the way I heard it. The way I heard it, one fella says to other, "Say, Saul, who's this fella Feudal who's been working with Fibber and Molly?" "Search me," says the other fella. "Where'd you hear about him?" "Well, in this radio column," says the first fellow. "See here, it says, Feudal attempts to be funny on Watt Johnson Wax Show." Nothing personal, kids. You know how I feel about you. Although if you really knew how I feel about you, you might take it a lot more personal. Oh, say,
Now what?
I got a telegram for you.
No?
Sign here, Junior, sign here.
Oh, thanks, old-timer.
Uh-huh.
How much of a tip do you usually get?
How much do you usually give?
Oh, nothing. McGee says when you accept a tip, It undermines your character.
Okay, then give me a quarter and a liter topple. Thanks, Johnny.
Well, who's the wire from, McGee?
Hey, it's from my brother, Alexander.
Zan?
Yeah,
Well, you haven't heard from him in a long time. What's he say?
says, I arrived okay in San Francisco. Tough trip. Tired, but happy.
What's he mean, tough trip?
Oh, he lost an election bet and had to push a peanut with his nose from New York to San Francisco.
Heavenly days. Well, he still made pretty good time, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. He bet against McKinley.
Well, let's get busy, McGee. The sooner we get to work, the sooner we'll get through.
Yeah, and the sooner we didn't start this in the first place, the quicker I'd be happier right now. If I'd ever realized what you got there.
Never you mind.
What are you blushing about? What are you reading?
Well, if you must know, it's some old love letters.
You mean you've been keeping them things?
Sure.
You can't get me for breach of promise now.
Here, smell 'em, McGee.
What do you mean, smell 'em? Did I write that bad?
Now, don't be silly. I've been keeping them in sachet.
Well, you can sashay right back up to the attic with them. I don't want them things laying around.
Well, I promise you, dearie, soon as I read them through once more, they'll be burnt up.
And so will I.
This is a beautiful one. It
Oh,
says,
please, Molly, not out loud. Someone might be listening.
well, if they weren't, we'll hear from Racine. But listen, this says, my precious blue-eyed butterfly.
Oh, pshaw.
My precious blue-eyed butterfly, spread your lovely golden wings and fly away with me tonight in a movie.
I sure took that flight of fancy into a tailspin, didn't I?
You certainly did.
Well, maybe my letters weren't so hot, but I had to do something to beat that other guy's time.
You mean Otis Cadwallader?
Yeah, Otis X. Cadwallader.
What do you mean, ex-Cadwallader?
You know what I mean. He knew you were crazy about Francis X. Bushman, so he put an X in his name too.
Well, I think it was pretty devoted of him to change his name for me.
Well, I done better than that. I changed your name for me. Oh, anyway,
Oh, McGee, listen to this.
I won't listen.
Oh, all right. Heavenly days, this is sweet.
What's it say? I guess I kind of got a morbid curiosity about them. When a guy realizes what a drip he's been, it's too late to fix the faucet. That's an old saying. I just made it up.
This is beautiful. It says, I'll never forget the time I first touched your little hand. It was inside a bag of popcorn at the ball game.
That's disgusting. Mooning over touching a gal's greasy mitt in a big bag of salty popcorn?
Wait till you hear some of the others.
I don't want to hear any more. Are we going to get this house cleared out or aren't we?
Oh, there's no hurry, dearie. I'm having fun.
Well, I'm not. And if you persist in reading that tripe, then I'm gonna
You're gonna what?
lock myself away somewhere so I won't hear you.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I will.
Where?
Right in here. Good. And while I'm in here, I'll straighten out this closet. Hey, Molly, I'm thirsty. Can I have some root beer now?
Later, McGee, later. Take that last box of rubbish out and then take the slipcovers off the furniture.
I want some root beer. Here I've been busting my biceps hauling this junk around while you've been sitting there reading my silly old love letters.
Well, they're not silly.
Nah.
They're beautiful. Listen, darling, when I told you, hold you in my arms, even the nightingale stops his song. He listens to the music in my heart.
Yeah.
The moon.
Well, hello, folks. How's everything?
Why, hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Hi, Harlow.
Well, what are you looking so grumpy about, pal?
He's annoyed with me, Mr. Wilcox, just because I found some of my old love letters in the attic, and I've been reading them.
Well, Dad rat it, ain't that enough to be annoyed about? Stuff a guy writes in his flaming youth makes him sound like a clinker at my age.
Let me read him one, dearie. Mr. Wilcox will judge for himself.
No, 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 no. Don't be a pest with my past. Don't listen, Wilcox.
No, I want to hear this, Fibber. I was young once myself, you know.
Oh, yeah? You can't kid me. You were born in Racine, Wisconsin at the age of 25. With a derby hat and your nurse used three-cornered order blanks for
McGee,
Okay, they got it anyway.
that's enough of that now.
Okay, Molly, go ahead. Read my love letters to Mr. Wilcox. Break his heart, if any. What matters if I, poor fool, my innermost thoughts, my most sacred feelings be torn asunder for the laughter of the mob? What if I...
Pipe down, Pagliacci. Your makeup is running. Go ahead, Molly. Let me hear one of the great lover's little outbursts of passion.
Well, here, I'll pick one out at random, Mr. Wilcox. The ink's a little faded, but I think I can make it out.
When I write a letter, I make sure the ink stays.
You'd do anything to...
To McGee, are you ready, Mr. Wilcox?
Go ahead. Quote the stupid to me, Cupid.
Well, this one says, Dear Moonbeam.
Moonbeam?
Yes, dear Moonbeam, I could not sleep last night for thinking of your sweet face.
Hey, I didn't write that stuff.
I got out of bed and dressed and walked over to your house and stood there under your window, thinking of you lying there asleep with your lovely hair forming a Niagara of gold on your silken pillow. Suddenly, I burst into song like a troubadour of old, serenading his loved one. Then your window opened softly, and I got a pitcher of water on my head. Why didn't you tell me you had changed rooms with your old man, sweetheart?
Well, Dad rat it, Molly. If you haven't got any more regard for my feelings...
Oh, be quiet, Fibber. What are you crabbing about? That stuff about Niagara was pretty snappy.
Well, I don't care if it... Huh? You think it was?
Why, certainly. Certainly it was. And baby, I know love letters when I hear them.
Really?
Why, sure. I get love letters all the time.
Subtle, ain't he, folks? The Army deferred him when they learned the flat-footed way he gets into these things. Now, go ahead, Wilcox.
Well, listen to this. It's from a lady in St. Louis. Dear Mr. Wilcox, you brought joy and happiness into the lives of us housewives. Learning about Johnson's self-polishing glow coat has given us time for movies and beauty parlors and bridge parties. We love you for showing us how to protect our linoleum from wear and tear with none of the old-fashioned rubbing and scrubbing and buffing.
Oh.
The work that used to take us hours, we can now do in 20 minutes or less. So with love to you and Johnson's self-polishing glow coat, I am sending you this little token of affection. Wear it always next to your heart. Devotedly yours, Mrs. Well, never mind her name. Now that's a love letter that is a love letter.
Oh, what did she send you, Mr. Wilcox? A lock of her hair?
No, this, a tiny little corner of her linoleum. Isn't it beautiful?
Oh, stop kissing it, you big ninny.
Well, when you use glow coat, you can afford to wear your heart on your sleeve, pal. It makes work so easy you don't have to roll them up. So long now.
My. Mr. Wilcox never loses his enthusiasm, does he?
The only way Wilcox could lose his enthusiasm is for someone to lose Wilcox. If anyone make me a decent...
Now, McGee, we've got to get busy. Did you get all that junk carried out?
Yes, I did. While you were daydreaming over those slushy little missiles of mine.
No, you don't mean missiles, you mean missiles.
Do not. Missive means big, oversized.
No, that's massive.
Well, I thought a massive was a guy who gave you a massage.
No, that's a masseur.
Masseur is mister in French.
That's monsieur.
Then what's a missile?
A missile is something you throw.
Well, that's what I say. Throw those letters out. I ain't going to stand around here and have everybody snicker at me. I'm just about to...
McGee, calm yourself and call the junk man to haul away that rubbish.
Okay, give me the phone.
Here.
Thanks. Hello, operator. Give me the Wistful Vista Junkyard at 14th and... Oh, is that you, Myrtle?
Every year the same thing.
Well, how's every little thing, Mert? Is, huh? What say, Mert? Your little brother. Say what? Cut off his feet?
Oh, McGee, how awful.
Oh, it was nothing. Kid brother wanted to build a fire without matches at the Boy Scout show. It was quite a feat, but they didn't have time for it. What say, Mert? Oh, I'll call him later. So long. Huh? What say, Mert? Your little sister? She what?
McGee, please, not another.
Okay. Tell me next week, Mert. Can't get the junk man on the phone, Molly.
Why not?
Junk man cut the wire down.
For what?
Junk. Hey, quit reading those letters, Molly. You promised. Who's that?
Let me see. Oh, it's Mrs. Uppington.
Oh, surely you don't mean Mrs. Abigail Uppington, the prominent, in certain places, society leader.
In the flesh, in the well-massaged, expensively corseted, slightly flabby flesh. Come in, Mrs. Mrs. Uppington. How do you do, Mrs. Uppington? Well, this is a surprise.
How do you do, Mrs. McGee and Mr. McGee?
Hi, Flabby. What cosmic upheaval has lured you out of your perfumed bower?
My Fifi, my dear Fifi is lost.
Oh, heavenly days, your Pekingese.
Oh, yes, my baby. I'm so upset, really.
Oh, calm yourself, Uppy. Where was the little pert twerp seen last?
And how was he dressed?
Well, she was last seen down the middle of the block, and she had on her best rhinestone collar, a Saks Fifth Avenue sweater, and her eye leather booties.
Don't that make you sick, Molly? I mean, to think of Fifi being lost?
Yes, and better dressed than I am, too.
No, no, dear, no levity. I'm horribly perturbed.
Well, why don't you advertise for her, Uppy?
Oh, it wouldn't do the slightest good, Mr. McGee. Fifi can't read.
Have you searched the neighborhood, Abigail?
Oh, yes. My butler Witherspoon spent the entire afternoon searching for her, going round and round the block calling, Fifi, Fifi, Fifi.
With what results?
With the result that he was promptly trounced by a brutal truck driver at whom he had happened to be looking when he called the last Fifi.
Oh, don't worry about her, Abigail. She probably eloped with some traveling Airedale.
Don't be ridiculous, Mr. McGee. Fifi would have nothing to do with other dogs. Why, she was almost as human as I.
Well, now that that golden opportunity has slipped past, let's go on.
Let's discuss something more amusing. Look at these old love letters of mine, Abigail. I found them in the attic. Shall I read you a couple?
Well, anything, dear, to get my mind off my poor little Fifi.
I don't know why you're worried about that mutt, Uppy. Personally, I've always considered Fifi the kind of a dog that shouldn't happen to anybody.
Yes. Forget your grief for a moment, Abigail. I want to read you one of these letters.
No, Molly, please. Them letters are sacred between me and you.
Don't be so fussy, dearie. Listen to this one, Mrs. Eppingale. Oh, darling Molly Cuddles. When you refused to kiss me after the basketball game tonight, you broke my heart into tiny fragments. And, sweetheart, there aren't many cures for a broken heart.
Ooh, good heavens! Many cures.
Oh, what's the matter, Uppy?
Manicure! I just remembered. I forgot and left Fifi at the beauty parlor getting a Marcel and a manicure.
Ah,
Oh, that dear little thing. Why, the little precious must almost have suffocated under that horrible dryer. Now, if you'll excuse me. Mother's coming, Fifi! Mother's coming!
Molly. Hey, Molly. Mrs. McGee.
why, yes. You speaking to me, dearie?
Speaking? I was yelling so loud my thorax will be Thor for 7 days.
Well, I'm sorry. I was so interested in these letters that I didn't hear you.
You know, Molly, I got thinking about those letters. They're not so bad. They're kind of poetic.
Oh, they're pretty drippy, McGee. You were absolutely right about destroying them.
No. Now wait a minute. After thinking it over, after all, hey, what you gonna do?
Throw them out the window into the trash pile.
Oh, no!
There.
Oh, Molly, I think you shouldn't have done that.
Well, you were the one that wanted me to throw them away.
Yeah, but after thinking it over and hearing you read them...
Come in.
Yeah, hello there, folks. I do hope I'm not intruding.
Oh, hi, Wimple, old man.
Of course you're not intruding, Mr. Wimple. We were just cleaning out some old rubbish, old love letters and things.
Oh, I can imagine a man writing a love letter to you, Mrs. McGee. But my wife, oh, she'd never stand for such nonsense.
Oh, come, Mr. Wimple. Every woman has a streak of sentiment down in her heart someplace.
Not if she hasn't got a heart down in her someplace.
Your better half sounds like a pretty chilly character, Wimple.
Oh, she's really a wonderful woman. Mr. McGee, she's a great help to me when I'm writing verses for greeting cards.
She is really?
Yes, indeedy. Lots of time when I'm sitting there beating my brains out for a rhyme, she comes in and helps me.
I think I met your wife someplace, Wimple.
Could it have been on Halloween? Riding her broom?
Did you ever lose your temper with her, Mr. Wimple?
I've learned to control myself, Mrs. McGee. Yoga, you know.
Yoga? How's it work, Wimple?
Just sitting still and concentrating. Preferably in solitude, Mr. McGee.
Oh.
I'll just sit for hours and hours imagining that my soul is free. Sometimes I sit cross-legged all day long, locked in a little room under our front stairs.
What's the result?
The result is eventually my wife unlocks the door and I apologize and she lets me out. Well, goodbye now. Don't come over to our house sometime. You'd hate it.
Poor Mr. Wimple. You know, he's a little martyr, isn't he?
Yep. But he wouldn't be a little martyr if he was a little smarter. Hey, Molly, can I have some root beer now?
Wait a few minutes, dearie. Let's finish our work first. Now let's see. If you'll take out the rugs. Oh dear, come in.
How do you do? Is Moonbeam here?
Who, Bud?
Moonbeam, otherwise known as Gorgeous Girl, my Peoria Prairie Flower, Sugar Bun, and Gypsy Sweetheart.
What on earth is this man? Oh, those letters.
You mean even he knows about those letters, Molly?
You must be the captain of the dreamboat.
Aw, gosh darn.
Alias Tootsie, alias A Million Kisses from You Know, and Desperate. Allow me, Tootsie, to return your letters.
And where did you get these letters, sir?
Madam, I assure you I have committed no act against the postal regulations. I am not a mailbox marauder by nature. I was examining the house next door with a view toward renting it, and passing by your window, I was suddenly struck on the fedora by an avalanche of Billy Do. And if Billy should do them again, I would be tempted to cram them down his sentimental gullet. Here, dreamboat. Good day, Moonbeam.
Now, the nerve of that guy. He read them.
All right, dearie. Let me take them.
Hey, what you gonna do with them?
I'm going to burn them. Give me a match.
Hey, now, wait. Let's not be hasty.
What do you mean?
Well, in spite of my embarrassment, everybody that's heard or read any of those letters says they're pretty good. So I thought maybe I could sell them to a magazine or book publisher. Maybe they wouldn't be worth much, but it'd be something.
You'll never publish my love letters, McGee. No, sir. I promise I'd burn them, and I'm going to.
Oh, Molly, please don't do that. Please, you haven't got any right to.
Oh, yes, I have, dearie. They were mine.
I wrote them, didn't I?
No.
What?
These letters from Otis Cadwallader.
Huh? Hey, Moonbeam?
Yes, Dreamboat.
Can I have some root beer now? I'm sure glad you threw those letters out, Molly. Do you feel any bad effects from them?
You mean, do I feel like crying?
No, I mean, did you catch cold, wading through all that slush?
Now, McGee, you're just jealous of Otis Cadwallader. You know, he was a very nice boy and a wonderful dancer.
Well, sure he was a wonderful dancer. He had to learn to dance.
Why did he?
Well, the fellows down at the pool room gave him a hot foot so often.
McGee.
Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax for Home and Industry, inviting you to be with us again next Tuesday night and reminding you that America's first line of defense is you and your support. So invest to the best of your ability in defense savings bonds. Good night. This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.
Our cast from Fibber, McGee, and Molly, Fall House Cleaning, are the shameless pitchmeister Harlow Wilcox, played by Walt Kovalik, overworked Fibber McGee, who only wanted a glass of root beer, was played by Jay Summerfield. His in-charge, love letter-saving wife, Molly, was played by Nell Brennan. The telegram-delivering old-timer was played by Roger Morris. The wife criticizing friend, Wallace Wimpole, was played by Andre Dixon. The man hit on the head by the billet doux, or love letters, was played by Herb Thompson. Our excellent sound effects were handled by Marty McNulty. And the uppity Mrs. Uppington was played by myself, Susan Gajinski.